Good afternoon, and welcome to the CG Tech, powered by the Virtual Lab weekly webinar. Before I introduce everyone, I'd like to just go over the standard rules. So we are every Wednesday at 12:30 to 1 o'clock, so we try and stay within your lunch hour. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Please like and share. Also, set a reminder for the following weeks. In fact, next week, we have got WWF, not the wrestlers, the charity joining us, which we're really excited about, and that's our chosen charity of the year. So you can go to our website and donate. They'll be joining us next week to talk to us, which is very exciting. This week we got Tim Waldron from Intellizz. I was going to talk about Intellizz, apologies. And before I make the introductions, I'll hand across to let Harry introduce himself. Harry, you're muted. It looks like we might have a problem. Tim, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Perfect. I'll tell you what we'll do. We will pull Harry off the feed for a moment. Tim, over to you to introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, David. Delighted to join you this afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name's Tim Waldron. I'm the Chief Sales Officer at Intellizz Limited. We're a startup tech company that specialises in asset location and devices that solve that particular problem. And that's part of what I'll be talking about today. My background is pretty broad. I've worked across the corporate, commercial, non-profit sectors throughout my career. Started off as a lawyer. Please don't hold that against me, but I started off as a lawyer in investment banking. And have since then have had quite a varied career. But one of the golden threads that runs through that is tech and sales. So that's my background in a nutshell.
Perfect. And I'm going to pull Harry off the feed. You said lawyer, and I was going to say, don't worry, because Harry's an ex-copper, but his internet looks like it's too unstable. So I'll pull him off rather than struggling through with them. Yeah, before we hand over, I guess, the background. We met you in Vegas at a conference, exhibition, British company, really liked the idea of the kit, and we've been testing it for about the last 3 or 4 months. In fact, the entire group has. So we've had units here in the UK, units down in South Africa, and units in Dubai, all on our kit. In fact, we're quite excited to give you some feedback tomorrow formally. So that's where this sort of came around. And again, we just thought it'd be brilliant. British company, get you guys on to talk a little bit about the product, but maybe more wider the industry. So if you're happy, I'll bring up your slides and let you start.
Absolutely. So the topic that we fell upon was global telematics today. And so what I'm going to try and do is give you a very brief overview of the history and the development as a sector as a whole, and then drill down a bit into the problems that we're grappling with in our niche of the market, and the solutions that we're putting out into the market to solve those problems. So really where it all began with the global telematics market was prompted by the launch of the GPS satellites. And that started in the late 1970s, 3 years before I was born. So you can guess my age from that. And the subsequent advancements in communication technology since then. And during that time, the application of that technology to transport, and personal transport in particular, has been one of the key aspects that has driven the motor industry forward over recent decades. And very early on, it was identified that vehicles could use GPS technology to triangulate their position, and then doubling that up with the digital cellular networks, they could transmit that data from the individual vehicles to central servers and vice versa. So there could be a two-way conversation between individual vehicles and the servers that were communicating in turn with the satellites. And since the first satellite launch, there have been myriad technological advancements in automotive electronics. We all drive our vehicles on a daily basis. We'll all be aware of so many of those advancements. but in particular in relation to GPS technology, the advancements have come with semiconductors and the software that control these systems within vehicles. And allied to that is the recent shift towards a rapid shift towards digitization, which has spurred advancements in what we now know as connected cars using the telematics technology. So vehicles that are far more of the personal transportation systems that were envisaged way back in the 1970s, when really cars were emerging as that primary form of transport that would change our lives beyond recognition in subsequent decades. So global telematics today, the market is generally looked at in terms of the different segments that the technological advancements have spurred. So within personal vehicles and transportation generally, the market breaks down as remote diagnostics. So you'll be aware of this in your vehicle when you get one of those pesky warning lights that are coming on. That information now is being used much more by the car retailers and also by the car manufacturers and the OEM market in terms of the servicing of those vehicles. You've got the obvious navigation and infotainment within the vehicles, and that now goes way beyond the cassette deck that I can remember in my very first full Fiesta that I bought as a result of my first Saturday job when I was much younger. But navigation and infotainment now is a core part of personal transportation. You then look at the B2B side of things with fleet management, and this goes far beyond simply knowing where your vehicles are. It's knowing where they are, but it's also understanding how they're being driven. It's understanding the impact of that driving on the vehicle itself. It's understanding the use of fuel and power within the vehicle. So much more than just where the vehicle is. It's what the vehicle is doing, how it's doing it, and the impact that that's having on the vehicle itself and the business overall. You then have safety and security, which is closely allied with diagnostics. And then you have other parts of the vehicle that are increasingly being digitized and using GPS technology to transmit that data. So you have a couple there: electric vehicle services, vehicle relationship management, and user-based insurance. That's the last one of those is a major part of the market now. So I've got a daughter who's 20 years old. She started driving a few years ago. She got her first car. And as part of the insurance package, she had to have a little black box installed that monitors how she drives and reports that back to the insurance company. And if she does certain things with her vehicle multiple times, then that negates her insurance, which is a massive form of risk mitigation for those insurance companies for younger drivers.
It's funny you mentioned that as well, Tim. I think we use Flock Insurance for our drone cover, and they do exactly the same. So
yeah,
but our monthly premiums are based on how we fly, where we fly, what we fly, and it actually makes it for much more clear understanding of what I'm going to get billed at the end of every month, depending on the basis. So I love it.
And it's a major market for our product, Intellizz, with insurance companies. And I'll go into this in a bit more detail shortly. But if we can enable insurance companies to reduce the number of cars that they fail to get back after they've been stolen, then that has a big impact on their business model, and in turn that has a big impact on insurance premiums as well. But looking at the development of the sector, we're operating on very short time spans at the moment. So projecting out until 2025, it's projected that 87% of vehicles on the roads at that time will have embedded telematics systems within them. So that's a major market for us. global automotive telematics market size is expected to reach $130 billion by 2023. That's not far away. So it gives you a sense of scale of the market that we are seeking to operate in. And what's driving that market? Demand for telematic systems within vehicles is being driven by the growing impact of innovation. And that's automotive innovation, anti-lock braking systems, engine control units, electronic fuel injection systems, automated locking systems. Those systems all generate data that can be transmitted via GPS and can be used to improve service, improve vehicles, improve the insurance market. It's those innovations that are driving the use of GPS systems. It's also connectivity. When we were at CES, David, in Las Vegas in January, the Consumer Electronics Show, I don't know if you went into the Amazon, I was going to say it's stand, but actually it was the Amazon hall, really. They just took the place over. The trend in smart connected devices is inexorable. And for many of us, we're now used to telling Alexa, other smart devices are available, but telling Alexa to turn the lights on, to play our music, to control our television, to control other smart devices within our homes. And cars are going in exactly the same direction. So it's that connectivity that is driving demand.
Yeah.
Because there is that.
You can see the whole world. No, I was just saying, you can see the whole world gearing up for 5G, with connectivity. It's very funny. I digress slightly with the story, but I phoned up my BT provider the other day and say I've got poor internet. 7 meg is all I get in this little part of the country. They tell me I've got 56 devices connected to the internet. I say, oh, that's craziness. I can't have that many. And then I go through and check and count. And as you say, the problem is I've got lights and heaters, and so they're all sharing 7 meg. So we all get 25K each, which is crazy. But yeah, sorry, I digress.
Yeah, and in many respects, the future's quite scary for our generation when you look at that level of connectivity, and that's only going to grow. But for my children, it's completely natural. It's as natural as breathing to have this data at their disposal in order to control their lives through smart devices, and it's that trend is simply going to continue. So the demand is driving the demand is being driven by the innovation. It's also being driven by the increasing presence of competing electronics and component manufacturers. So you've got some massive companies now that are moving into the telematics market because of the demand that's being driven by innovation. So I've mentioned some of those companies there, but the market is significant, $130 billion worldwide by 2023. It's no surprise that some of these big companies are taking a major share of that market. If I can turn to the problem that we've been grappling with and the solution that we've come up with, that, as David says, they've been testing within their companies for the last few months. The problem is vehicle theft. So that's where the genesis for Intellizz came from. The company itself, Intellizz Limited, we were supplying traditional telematics products into fleet providers, mainly commercial fleets, providing delivery vans and the like. And what we've been seeing with vehicle theft over recent decades is it has been falling. So vehicle theft in the US, for example, peaked at 1.7 million vehicles in 1991. That's fallen about 55% to 773,000, just over, in 2017. There was a further slight drop in 2018. It'd be interesting to see what's happened with COVID lockdowns and the like, what impact that has on the numbers. But it's been a declining trend on vehicle theft, but it's still significant numbers. And that bottom bullet point there, the FBI reckons that it costs around about $16 billion per annum in the US alone in car vehicle theft that is subsequently not recovered. Within those figures, though, there's been a rise in the theft of commercial vehicles, which was particularly troubling to our clients. So in the UK, there's been a 45% increase in thefts of commercial vehicles since 2015, which is a year-on-year rise of 4%. So there's a particular issue that we had with our clients where they are leasing commercial vehicles, vans and the like for Amazon, DPD, those types of drivers. They're particularly high risk because these drivers are under pressure, they're under very strict timetables. They often leave their vehicles unlocked. They often leave them unlocked with the keys in the ignition. And it's well known that because they're delivery vehicles, they tend to have quite a high value of cargo in the back of them. So that's why we're seeing those increasing numbers, 45% since 2015, of commercial vehicles being stolen. And what we wanted to do was to enable our clients to get those vehicles back. So stolen vehicle recovery is a big issue for our clients. And looking at the global scene on car theft, successful recovery of stolen vehicles depends on numerous factors. Two especially are local adherence to the rule of law and the resources that are allocated to law enforcement. Now, you may think that in the UK, apologies, I don't know why that's come up.
Don't worry. Well, actually, while you're fixing that, this is probably a good segue, and actually one of the reasons I wanted to have Harry. Harry was pushing before I think we had vehicles on the street. But Harry, what would this have done? What would this have done for you in the police force? I mean, in terms of resources, efficiency, maybe fill us in on what your thoughts are on this type of technology.
Well, I mean, it's the whole theft of vehicles is it just peaks and troughs and has done for decades. Back in the day, like you said, many years ago, when I was in the police, Metropolitan Police, it was one of the biggest growth crimes in London, let alone the country. And there was no way of finding these vehicles. They were often dismantled quickly and just not recovered. They were often sent overseas. Nowadays, it has dropped significantly, but like you said, with the commercial stuff, there is a growth there. If we'd have had this technology back then, there's no telling how many people we would have apprehended and put inside. Unfortunately, we didn't have it, so we had to do it the old-fashioned way.
Maybe it's a military term still, but sort of forensic pattern of life. So the ability to not only see where the vehicle ends up, maybe it's a chop shop, maybe it's already been sold to someone, but actually to see the chain of events that it goes through on the way to the chop shop, where it passes, who it goes to. And I think that's something, again, I think particularly in military days, we used to action as soon as we had information, but actually I think we learned over years, sometimes sit back, suck up the information, create intelligence, and then action it further down the line.
And that's important evidence as well, the chain of events, from where it gets stolen to where it ends up. There's a lot that happens in between. It goes through lots of people sometimes, and it's quite significant. And also knowing how it's been, where they're going, the routes they're taking, all of that is really good evidence and knowledge for the police.
Good.
Sorry, David. We had a classic example today of that type of theft. One of our clients reported to us the theft of one of its vehicles, a commercial van. And thieves are alive these days to the fact that trackers are fitted to devices, to vehicles. And generally the modus operandi for vehicle theft, particularly commercial vehicle theft these days, is it will be stolen, it will be taken to a nearby location, and left for up to 24 hours to see if anybody comes and picks it up. After that 24 hours, it's presumed that there's no tracking device on the vehicle, it's clean, it's taken away, and at that point, it's very difficult to recover the vehicle because it's going to be chopped very quickly. With the vehicle that we had notified last night, it was fitted with an Intellizz device. We put it onto locate mode, which sends its signal every 5 minutes. And the vehicle was located 4 miles down the road from where it was stolen. Our client simply went down the road and picked their vehicle up and drove it back again. But one of the key parts of that tale is that client also has fitted a traditional tracking device that it uses for fleet management that tells that client where its vehicles are at any one point in time. That device had been ripped out. And it was only because of Intellizz that they got the vehicle back. And that really goes to the final bullet point there on this page, which is the fundamental flaws of traditional tracking solutions. Where they are fitted for anti-theft purposes, they are practically useless because they are very easily located by thieves. Using tracker detector devices, if you go on Amazon, you can buy one for about £30. It picks up on the frequency of the tracker because they are continuously sending their location. So they are continuously sending a signal that can be identified. A thief simply runs one of the tracking detectors over the vehicle, works out where it is, goes in, rips it out, leaves it by the side of the road and drives the vehicle away. And that's exactly what had happened with our client last night. Because Intellizz, I would like to take a little bit of time just to explain what our solution is and how it works, but I'm very happy to take any questions at the moment on the global telematics.
No, please do.
Well, our solution is very simple. Whereas traditional telematics devices are constantly emitting a signal that can be tracked, hence their name, they can also be found by car thieves, and that's the critical weakness. Using inexpensive telematics detectors, they simply find where they are in the vehicle, rip them out, dump them by the side of the road and drive away. Intellizz is a global asset location device that sleeps undetectable until it's needed. So this is Intellizz. I can't see myself, so am I holding it up higher?
A little bit higher. I could tell you anything now, couldn't I? Yeah, I know that's the
So this is Intellizz, and you can see it's slightly larger than a matchbox. It's a sealed unit. It's fully waterproof and dustproof to IP68, which is the highest manufacturing rating for ingress protection. It's a thoroughly British product. It's designed, made and assembled in the UK. And it is Thatchams rated as an anti-theft device in category S7, which means that it complies with requirements that are set out by insurers. So fitting an Intellizz will reduce insurance premiums for you. But it's an unobtrusive device that fitting it is as easy as placing it in the vehicle. And for the vast majority of the time, 23 hours and 58 minutes a day, it will sleep. And it sleeps without emitting a signal. So it's that makes it undetectable. Once a day, it can be up to 4 times a day, but once a day, it will wake up, transmit its location, receive instruction, and then go back to sleep again. And unless your vehicle is stolen during the 3-year period that we guarantee the battery life for, and critically also, the price includes 3 years worth of data. So no expensive monthly subscription with Intellizz, simply a one-off cost of £199.99 retail. gives you 3 years worth of protection. If your vehicle is taken, you simply go on the desktop or the mobile app that we're going to be launching shortly. You instruct Intellizz to go into locate mode when it next wakes up. When it does so, it starts transmitting its location every 4 minutes. The location is given via GPS, is transmitted by the cell signal, and you simply can go and collect your vehicle, or through the Thatcham system, work with local police in order to retrieve your vehicle. And it really is as simple as that. And because it's so unobtrusive, because it's sleeping, it is virtually undetectable to car thieves. And it's that that allows us to recover the vehicles with what is, for the market, an exceptional recovery rate. So we had a prototype device in a fleet of 1,000 commercial vehicles for 24 months. Over that 24-month period, 214 vehicles were stolen. We recovered all 214. And that compares very favourably to a national recovery rate of just 45% of stolen vehicles. If you go to certain parts of the UK, like the West Midlands, that goes down as low as 18% of stolen vehicles are recovered. So we've got a single purpose device that does that single purpose exceedingly well, and that's asset location.
Tim, can I ask the...
Oh, sorry, I was going to say that's pretty good. 214 stolen, 214 recovered. You didn't steal them, did you? Because that would affect the numbers.
No, we.
It wasn't you. Okay.
So our marketing team has suggested on occasion that perhaps we could provide a service where we prove this and go out and steal vehicles from our clients with their permission. But no, these all 214 were actual thefts of commercial vehicles that were in use by drivers, and we recovered all 214.
Good. Harry, you were going to ask something.
Yeah, Tim, you say that it sleeps for pretty much most of the time. If it's stolen and you're aware that it's stolen during the day, for example, can you not have it wake up, or do you have to wait until it's specified time?
So if somebody tries to remove the device, it has a light sensor on the bottom, and that will trigger the device to wake up and start transmitting its location every 4 minutes. If it's just left alone, you do have to wait until the device next wakes up. But that will still be within that window of 24 hours. At the very latest, it's going to be, if it's stolen immediately after, it's still going to be within that 24-hour window that you generally have to get the vehicle back. You can set the device for up to 4 wake-ups a day. So if you know that a vehicle is going to be in a high-risk area, you can flex that so that you have it waking up more frequently during the 24-hour period.
And that was actually one of the things that we were trialing, Harry, was do you wake up more often when you're not in it so that you can see it, or do you wake up more often when you're moving around so that you know, I like the idea of this also for a lone worker perspective, you know, so actually if you've got a 6-hour window that they're out driving and you have 4 wake-ups, you can see where the movement is. If they just get stolen, then you can wait the next 24 hours. So there was a number of different sort of user cases we tried.
Another key aspect of this device is geofencing. So you can, if you know, for example, that you're going away on holiday, you're parking up at an airport parkway. Not that any of us are doing that at the moment, but hopefully in due course. If you know that vehicle should not be moving for the next 2 weeks, you can set the geofence around the vehicle itself, or the car park, or wherever the vehicle may be, so that you get alerted if the device moves out of that location. So if it wakes up and finds it's outside the geofence, then you will get an alert telling you that. You can also geofence areas that you don't want the car to go into. So for some of our insurance clients, they have policies specifically where vehicles are not allowed to go into London. So we set a geofence for London. Then if a device wakes up and finds itself in London, again, within the geofence, it will send an alert for that as well. So there's quite a few different configurations you can put on the devices, depending on the use case that you have for particular vehicles. Indeed, if you want to track where a vehicle is going for a specified period of time, then you can put it into locate mode, and it will give you that location every 4 minutes for an hour, and you can extend that out. Now that does impact on the battery life, but it still could be done for limited periods of time if that was going to fit your use case.
Gents, we have reached our 30 minutes. So Tim, first off, thank you very much for coming on. It's always fantastic to see British tech companies, and actually one that we've been trialing as well makes it even better. So thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Excellent. For everyone else, again, please like and share. Feedback always welcome. This will go live on YouTube in about 4 or 5 hours, and the reminder for next week's, as I say, WWF on next week, which again we're very excited about. So please come and join us next Wednesday. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.